Hello, I'm Doug, and welcome to the Krewe of Japan podcast, a weekly podcast where we take you on audio journeys through Japanese culture.
This time on Krewe of Japan podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast. Basketball has always been one of my favorite sports, and over the last decade or so, it's been really exciting to watch more and more Japanese players make a name for themselves in college basketball and the NBA. Whether it's Rui Hachimura, Yuta Watanabe, or now the next generation coming up, it's been fun seeing Japan become a bigger part of the basketball conversation. So for a while now, I've been wanting to do an episode connecting basketball and Japan. But if I could somehow tie it back into Louisiana or New Orleans too, well, that'd be pretty sick. But that felt like a pretty tall order, like a 7-foot center level tall. Kind of a podcast pipe dream. Until a friend, Matt Alt, helped connect the dots. Johnny O'Bryant III is an LSU basketball legend. After a standout career at LSU, he was drafted into the NBA and since then has played professionally all over the world. But what I didn't realize was that he had not just one, but two connections to Japan. He spent a season playing in Japan's B.League for the Ibaraki Robots. And we all know Ibaraki's my place, right? And he's also the founder and CEO of Noir Caesar, a manga publishing company. In today's episode, the crew sits down with Johnny to talk about life in Japan's B-League and playing for the Ibaraki Robots.
Coming from Europe, which is, I think, probably the most competitive and intense basketball you can play. I don't know if you've ever seen the videos of like the crowds in European basketball where it's like people screaming and it's like jumping around. It's like kind of like soccer atmosphere, really. Just super intense, smoke in the air. So coming from that and transitioning to Japan where like the fans are so nice, man, they don't boo. They never boo you. They're always cheering for you. They're screaming, they're crying. You know, it was just so, even the team was so nice.
Building a manga publishing company from the ground up.
I would be on Twitter and I would come across this manga called Deep 3. It was a basketball manga in Japan. And the art style was really cool because you could tell that the artists and the creators really watched basketball. Like the details in the story, the details in the characters. And this actually character follows like a mixed kid, which you really didn't see in a lot of Japanese manga. It follows like a, half black, half Japanese kid. But it was no English version available. It was only Japanese and French. I remember reaching out to the artist and was like, hey, I'm a big fan. I play in the B.League. Is your story published in English? And if not, my company would love to publish it.
Balancing basketball, business, and creativity.
On my downtime, I'm sending emails. I'm working. I'm creating something. I'm, writing. We also have time where we ride the bus or we're on a plane for a couple hours. You're writing, jotting down ideas. But I have a really good team around me. My co-founders, they work really hard. So, just trying to get what I can get done in my downtime and also just working with my team, I think is the key.
And so much more. It's a conversation about sports, life in Japan, manga, entrepreneurship, and following passions both on and off the court. So there's the buzzer. It's time for tip-off. Let's go. Are you new to the crew? Yokoso. We hope you enjoy this episode. If you like what you hear today, then you'll really love our back catalog of episodes from earlier this season and previous seasons. We've had some incredible guests, like Gatomu's Baliana Ki grappling with Japanese pro wrestling, voice actor Kyle Hebert discussing his experiences in shonen anime and voice acting, author Matt Alt celebrating the life and legacy of Akira Toriyama, and so much more. After you finish up this episode, hit that subscribe button or follow or whatever it is, and get notified when new episodes come out. Then while you wait for the new episode to drop, play catch up with the crew. But before you do any of that, let's dive into today's episode. All right, we're back with another sports episode. I know in the past we've done an episode about soccer. We've sort of done a baseball episode, but one thing I've been wanting to do, I'm a huge basketball fan, and I've been wanting to do a basketball themed episode. And just so happened to know a connection that was able to get me in contact with not only a professional basketball player who played in Japan, but also has roots in the Gulf South. So today we have with us Johnny O'Bryant III. Johnny, welcome to Krewe of Japan podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to join the podcast.
Yeah. So for the folks maybe who aren't familiar with you or maybe don't follow basketball too much,
Yeah.
You want to take a moment just to introduce yourself?
Yeah, like you mentioned, I am a professional athlete, played about 5 years in the NBA, then transitioned to overseas. I played in most of the top leagues in the world, ranging from EuroLeague to China to Japan, now in South Korea. Also, I'm a huge fan of anime, manga. Started a publishing company about 10 years ago with some of my best friends, and it's been great. And also, entrepreneur investor.
Awesome. Awesome. So before we, and then, as I mentioned, you have roots in the Gulf South, but our icebreaker usually for these episodes is asking people, what do they think of when they hear New Orleans? But obviously, being born and raised from Mississippi, playing a legendary career at LSU,
Yeah.
obviously you've been to New Orleans, you know New Orleans. So what's the first thing that comes to mind when it comes to New Orleans for you?
The food, man. I had never really spent much time in Louisiana before coming to LSU, although it's very close. And so when I got down to Louisiana and New Orleans, I just remember trying so much of the food and it was amazing, man. It was amazing.
Are you a big crawfish fan?
Man, crawfish. I love etouffee.
Yeah.
It's just, man, just so many different dishes. I remember trying alligator for the first time there. One of my favorite places was called Acme Oyster House, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that was really good. But no, it was just the food was amazing for sure.
Did you go to any of the LSU tailgates for football or anything like that when you were there? I'm sure you ate a ton of stuff at
Man,
those
every
tailgates.
Saturday, and my coaches hated it because it would make me gain weight, and it was so hard because I just remember all the tailgates were set up throughout campus, and everyone knew you played basketball, and they would always call you over to eat for free and like get a plate, and it was just crazy, man, crazy days.
When I lived in Japan for 3 years, or I guess 1 year, and then I came back and then lived there for 3 more years. And I think one of the things that you realize is once you move away and you're like, oh man, I'm craving like etouffee or dirty rice
Mm,
or
mm,
something. It's so hard to recreate that unless you have like all
yeah,
the ingredients.
yeah, yeah,
So I would
yeah.
always bring like those little, you can go to like Rouse's or like one of the grocery stores and buy those little
Mm,
packets, like the instant that you
yeah.
just put it in there and throw some butter in there, maybe some
Mhm.
sausage or chicken or whatever. But I had to bring like 50 of those with me. I'd bring them with me and and I live by myself. So I can portion them out. So that way, I make dinner a couple nights a week or whatever. And I'm like, all right, cool. I got my red
Definitely.
beans and rice for this
Nah,
week.
that's
I'm good.
nice.
I'm
That's
set.
nice, man. I miss it for sure.
Oh, I bet. I bet. Well, if you need a care package, let us know.
Got you.
So before we get into the basketball side of things, you kind of mentioned a couple of things about Japan that you were interested in, but what is your relationship with Japan before you moved there? What was the one thing, or maybe one of the things that pulled you into your interest in Japanese culture in general?
I would say I grew up, like I said, I grew up a fan of anime and manga. And I used to watch Dragon Ball Z and Gundam and Yu Yu Hakusho and all these animes on Cartoon Network used to show like a
Toonami?
Tsunami, but it used to come on right after school. So I
Yeah.
remember when I would get home, I would watch like traditional cartoons, SpongeBob and stuff that was on Cartoon Network, Dexter's Laboratory. And then around like 4 p.m., it was switched to anime block. And as a kid, you seeing these characters scream and their hair turn colors, and it was just so much different than American cartoons. And so the storylines were crazy, the art was crazy. And so that's when I became glued to, I guess Japanese culture. It was teaching me, it was teaching me about the food and culture. I was learning words. And then I learned that these animations had stories in book form. So I started reading manga. And so that was kind of my intro into Japan. And then as I got older, I started my own company and started making relationships in Japan with creators and writers and companies. And so it's been pretty cool.
I feel like a lot of people around our age have a similar story of anime and manga where kind of your
Mm,
gateway. You had that
mm,
Toonami 2 hour block of like,
mm.
I think when I was in high school, it was definitely Dragon Ball. But it was like Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball, Tenchi Muyo, Gundam Wing. I think those
Yeah,
are the
yeah.
three. And then I think Yu Yu Hakusho switched in at some point, or they kind of rotated in and out. I think I was actually Reboot was in there too at some point. No, it's not really
Gotcha.
anime, but I think that was a big gateway for a lot of people that are kind of in our age group,
Mm.
that late 20s, early 40s, somewhere in that generation. I don't know if that's what generation that is, but prior to you playing for the Ibaraki Robots, did you ever travel to Japan to visit?
Yeah, so me and my wife took a trip there, I want to say pre-COVID, 2018, 2019, maybe just to visit. And that was our first time in Japan. And then later had a couple offers to play there. And then I ended up eventually playing there in 2023, I think. Yeah.
Okay. So walk us through the moment when playing in Japan. You said you had a couple offers, but then you decided in 2023 to actually take the jump.
Yeah.
Walk us through that moment when playing in Japan really went from possibility to a plan. Was that a hard sell for you? I mean, you seemed like you're interested in Japanese culture, so maybe it's a little hard sell, but in terms of like, okay, I got to take my career over there, but like interest wise and like uprooting yourself, you've been to Japan before. So was that a difficult decision for you? Or was it kind of like, this is my shot to go live over there?
So actually my first time getting an offer in Japan, it was back in like 2020, 2021. And I was actually in the middle of playing really good in Europe and didn't know much at all about Japanese basketball league. And at the time, it wasn't what it is now. Like B.League has become one of the best leagues in the world. It's crazy to see. But at the time when I got the offer, it was for a lot of money. And so at the time, I was really only thinking of staying in Europe. And so kind of got the offer, kind of thought about it, and just kind of didn't answer quick enough. So the team kind of moved on. And then coming back in 2023, I kind of knew, like, I was like, man, I really do want to live in Japan, play in Japan. And truthfully, man, it ended up being a great decision because I think, living and playing in Japan is amazing. The league is amazing. My teammates, it was just a great experience. I lived in Mito, Ibaraki.
Oh, I know Mito. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't too far from Tokyo. Could get on the train and be there in like an hour and 15. So it was a lot of fun. I remember I remember one of the first things that kind of surprised me was they gave us a car. So driving on the opposite side was kind of crazy for me. And I remember I remember they just gave me the car and they was like, all right, well, find your way to practice tomorrow. And I was like, all right. I remember being terrified, man, trying to figure out how I'm gonna get to practice and learn the roads. And I'm on Google Maps. But it was overall, man, it was a great experience to, be able to join later in my career.
Yeah, and the car story reminds me, like when I was teaching over there, towards the end of my first year, I had an international driver's license that I never really used.
Yeah.
So before it expires, it's very easy to switch over from international to like a Japanese driver's license. But once that international license expires, you have to do a whole different process.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh God, I have 2 months. Let me get it in there. And then I end up finding a car kind of relatively cheap. But it was coming from Saitama, so I had to get it delivered. And I lived in Fukushima, so right by Ibaraki, like the southeastern corner in Iwaki City.
Yeah.
So like I had it delivered and I took a cab over to meet the person that was delivering the car at like the place where you get your registration and everything like that. And the guy was like, yeah, here's your keys, go. And I'm like, I've never driven in Japan before. This never crossed my mind. I'm like, I'm actually terrified because the roads are like from there to where I need to go. We're all kind of narrow. So, and there's like 1 lane each way on a narrow road, kind of curving and stuff. And I'm like, this is the first time driving on the other side of the road, steering wheel on the opposite side of the car. I asked the guy, I was like, hey, I know you got to go to the station anyway to take the train. Can you drive me to the station? Like, you could drive my car, just take me there. I'm kind of scared. I don't know. Yeah, please. So I ended up having to do that. And then from there, I had to drive to my apartment, which is, again, tiny road and winding and everything. And I'm like,
sure.
I should have test driven a little bit more before I got into a car. But once you do it a couple times, it's like, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, it becomes pretty easy. And I think, where I lived in Ibaraki, it was very like countryside.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like a ton of traffic on the road. It was just learning like not to turn on this way or not to turn that way. It was kind of the hard part for me. So
right. You don't want to turn into oncoming traffic.
Yeah, sure.
So speaking of other things, like your first week in Japan, was that the hardest thing that hit you when you got there, the car thing, or was there something else that like kind of caught you off guard or surprised you, like really made you feel like, oh crap, I'm really in Japan?
Oh, no, I would say the car thing was probably the biggest thing. I think that, I think that my first earthquake.
Oh yeah.
I remember being asleep. We had the day off. I remember being asleep I fell asleep on the sofa downstairs, and I remember getting this alarm from my phone. And as soon as the alert went off, I opened my eyes and I just feel like my house like rocking, like side to side. It didn't last long, but come to find out, it was a pretty bad earthquake. And so I just remember my house rocking. And so for me, I'm thinking like, oh my God, like I gotta get out of the house. I gotta figure out what to do. I'm thinking like, survival instincts kick in. I'm thinking I'm in like a video game. I got to figure out what to grab and go. And so I remember standing up and like opening my door. I was like, man, I need to get out the house just in case the house fall in. And I remember looking outside and like, I see like the light poles swaying side to side and the cars moving. So I'm like, I'm freaking out. It only lasted probably maybe 40 seconds, but I just remember my first earthquake. I was like, "Oh my god, what is this?"
We don't get many of those down here,
Yeah,
huh?
sure. But that was definitely an intro to Japan, also, sure.
Yeah, those and they only last like you said, 20, 30 seconds sometimes,
Yeah,
but I mean, that's a long 20, 30 seconds when you're not ready for it.
sure, for sure, sure. It's also kind of a reminder that, like, at the time, like, when nature's doing this thing, it's just a reminder that you kind of nothing you can do about it, really. You just so you just kind of sitting there and like, wow, I gotta figure this out. So
Yeah, you just kinda you roll with it. It's nothing else you
yeah,
really can do. I mean, you be prepared and that's about it, you know?
sure.
So did you have any kind of, like, delayed onset, like, culture shock that hit you maybe 2 or 3 months after living and, being in Japan, kinda going through the motions of your daily routine, everything like that, and then, obviously, you've been living in Europe, playing ball in Europe, so
Mhm.
you've been used to being out of, like, your where you grew up.
Yeah.
You were in, like, an international setting in different places, but obviously Europe and Japan are totally different too. So was there any kind of, like, late setting, like, culture shock that hit you maybe a few months down the road where it kinda I feel like everybody says, like, when you move to Japan, you got, like, the honeymoon phase, you're riding the high, and then, for me, it was always kinda around Christmas time when it gets cold and, it's cold outside, it gets dark early, you start to miss out on that feel of, "Oh, it's Christmas." It's, like, that kinda time of year. Was there anything like that for you?
Yeah, I just remember a couple months in, I remember feeling a bit lonely, which is weird because I had my teammates, but for a foreigner, nobody really, when I would go to Tokyo and hang out, it would kind of be by myself. In America, random people come up and talk to random people all the time, or, you speak, you see someone walking, you speak. In Japan, like everyone just minded their own business, stayed out the way. And so for me, you realize that like unless you're kind of intentionally trying to make friends, you don't really get a lot of friends if you don't put yourself in that environment. And so for me, a couple months in, I realized like, I kind of feeling the loneliness kind of crept in and like, just kind of felt like a loner a bit. Not to say that I didn't enjoy myself because I did, but it was just really noticing that like, wow, I don't really have a lot of friends here that's outside of like teammates or business partners and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I would say that was definitely one of them for sure.
No, that's definitely something I've heard from many people, like, just especially in
Mhm.
Tokyo. Like, if you're going to
Yeah,
Tokyo, it's like everyone's so, like you said, kept to themselves that they don't really
yeah,
unless you're going out to, like, an izakaya or a bar and, like, everyone's drinking and everyone's kinda loosened up a little bit, and then you're like, "Okay." Then
for
people
sure.
get to start to
Sure.
get a little chatty and maybe a little braver to
Yeah.
talk to you, but otherwise, yeah, it's really hard to kinda go and just naturally, organically make friends unless it's like, like, "Hey, I'm gonna go in a setting where I absolutely will be interacting with people."
For sure. I think another thing too was in basketball side. I think that coming from Europe, which is I think probably the most competitive and intense basketball you can play. I don't know if you ever seen the videos of like the crowds in European basketball where it's like people screaming and it's like jumping around. It's like kind of like soccer atmosphere, really. Just super
Okay.
intense smoke in the air. So coming from that and transitioning to Japan where like the fans are so nice, man. They don't boo. They never boo you. It's just they're always cheering for you. They're screaming, they're crying. It was just so even the team was so nice. You lose a game, everybody's just so positive. It was like a anime almost, in a sense. But so transitioning into that, which was really it was a really great and cool atmosphere, but I had started to kind of miss the intensity of like what I was getting in Europe, the pressure of, winning and losing and your coaches coming in with I guess it sounds kind of toxic, but your coaches coming in screaming and yelling and cursing you out. So for me, I had started to miss that side, but other than that, it was pretty cool.
Now that we're kinda talking a little bit about the feel of basketball in Japan, like, was there anything else? Obviously, you said the fans are super, like, supportive. They don't really
Mm,
turn on you. You don't get that,
yeah,
like,
yeah, sure.
here where I mean, you see, like, players demand a trade or something. They do
Yeah,
something where
yeah,
it kinda, like, gets on the
sure.
bad side of the community, and all of a sudden, they're, like, enemy number 1 in the
Yeah, for
fans'
sure.
eyes, you know?
Sure.
Is there anything else that really, like, differentiates basketball in Japan from, like, what you experience not only in the NBA, but then also in Europe?
Yeah, I guess when you learn the history of Japan, Japanese basketball is pretty cool. So for me, learning like where the league came from until now, it used to be. a company ball league where they would hire one guy to come over and play and pay him a lot of money, but he was playing on behalf of a company and everyone else kind of worked for the company. They were actually employees of the company that would go play basketball on their free time. And it got competitive to where the companies would start paying professional athletes to come play for them so they can win the company league. And then to see it go from that to one of the best leagues in the world is really, really amazing. And I think that is a testament to, everyone running the league and just, forward thinking people to really, make basketball in Japan really, really big. And I think that now, like I said, Jahlil Okafor is there, Stanley Johnson's there. You're going to see more and more guys transition from, the NBA or who played in the NBA or played in Europe to Japan because truthfully, man, it's such a laid back league where like it's no trouble.
Yeah.
Coaches are cool, teammates are cool, the companies that own the teams are really cool. And then who doesn't want to live in Japan? You're
Right.
living in Japan, you're making really good money. Some guys have their families there. And yeah, it's just a great, great life, man. I think that you're going to see a lot more guys start to transition there. Especially, I think they're starting a new league in Japan called B Premier, which is like, currently, I think it's 3 different leagues in Japan, like B1, B2, B3. And they basically vetted all the teams from the 3 leagues and made like one super league for like the top teams of every league. So it's going to be a really good product they're putting out, I think.
Okay. So do you think you see yourself maybe at some point going back and playing in Japan?
Maybe we'll see. We'll see. My current situation is really good, and we're
Okay.
actually in the playoffs now here, and I'm in
All
South
right.
Korea, so my current situation is pretty good with my team. But we'll see, man. I can never say no to Japan. So
So basketball, like you said, is a universal language. I think everyone, if people enjoy basketball, they kind of know the basic goals of basketball. Everyone kind of like when you're playing together, I think this is in any sport too. Like when you're playing against somebody, you guys are all on the same wavelength in terms of like what game you're playing, how you play
yeah.
and everything like that. But like every locker room you've been in, I'm sure has a different vibe. So how would you describe maybe like the dynamic? You said everyone's kind of laid back and chill, but was there any kind of like language barrier, for example? Like, did you study any Japanese prior to going over there or were you studying
Nah.
while you were there?
No, I didn't. I didn't. I just kind of asked and learned kind of that thing. But most of the time, when you're overseas in Asia, not in Europe, because most coaches in Europe and teammates speak English. But Japan and like here in South Korea, usually have a translator, and the translator kind of translates between the coach and players, and then also translate between teammate and teammate. But for the most part, man, the Japanese guys were super cool, super chill. I love the Japanese guys I played with, man. They were some of the coolest dudes you could play with. They were funny, man. They joked a lot and just super chill, man. I loved it. They worked really hard too. They worked really hard. And I think one of the things about the B-League is that, they value having a really good work environment. They don't want bad guys to come over and, mess up the work environment. So
Yeah, no, you don't want anybody gaijin smash in the locker room.
yeah. They really care about like I think truthfully it's work environment before winning. Like they'd rather have a good ran team than like I don't want to say maybe other than winning a championship, but I think most important for sure is like how we run our team and how good is the day-to-day environment for sure.
Okay. So like back to the translator thing with the translators
Right.
kind of with you, is that only in like during practices or is that during games too? When are they like kind of in the huddle, like when y'all are going through like calling up plays and things like that? And like if the coach is all speaking Japanese, if you're in on that play, are they kind of communicating or are you able to kind of follow? Because again, you can understand if you see the X and O's and like where they're drawing things up, you can kind of understand what's going on.
Yeah, so well actually for me, my coach was from America.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, he was a college coach in America. Yeah, been a successful college coach in the States. And he was actually, so he spoke English and then they would translate from English to Japanese for the Japanese players. So they were the one kind of dealing with the live translation. Whereas here in South Korea, my coach is, Korean and, I have to go through live translation. But usually the translators at practice and games and, on the bus or whatever. So it's pretty cool.
That's cool. So kind of the day to day then, like what was your life like outside the gym? Like when you weren't at practice and when you weren't going, traveling for games and stuff, did you ever get really, being in the countryside of Ibaraki and in Mito, like did you ever get a chance to kind of plug into the local community and like kind of get involved with some maybe festivals during certain times of year
Yeah.
or, like just kind of get to know people in the community?
I would say yes and no. I didn't really jump out and get into the festivals, but I definitely found my like spots, my little rest. I found a couple restaurants. It was one restaurant I love where the guy he served like a weird combination of like pizza and Mexican food. But the food was really good, and the way the bar was decorated was like really cool. And then I found like a barber. It was pretty cool because he had never cut an African American man's hair. And so first time I got a haircut, he had like his phone out, like watching YouTube. And I just remember like I was so nervous, man. And and he actually ended up doing a great job. And I would go to him more and more. Him and his wife owned like a really small, like kind of barbershop beauty salon thing. But yeah, I kind of found my pockets, found my spots in the community where I could go and hang out. If I wasn't
Okay.
in Tokyo, obviously. So
Nice, nice. Yeah, I have to get the name of that restaurant, pizza and Mexican.
for sure.
My wife's family lives up in Hitachi.
Oh, nice,
So,
nice.
like, literally maybe like a 25-minute train
Yeah,
ride from Mito. So,
nice.
yeah, I might have to go check it out. Say, Johnny sent me.
Nah, for sure, for sure.
All right, so we're going to come back to basketball. We're going to
Yeah,
come back to that. I want to take a quick detour back to what you mentioned earlier. Another Japan adjacent business venture of yours, Noir Caesar.
yeah.
You had mentioned that you started your own company with some of your best friends. I wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of talk about it, like let us know like what this company is, like what it represents, and like where the idea came from.
So yeah, essentially, like I said, I grew up a big fan of anime and manga, and I want to say my first or second year in the NBA, I wanted to get into storytelling a bit. My high school teacher, actually, who was young, I know when I say high school teacher, people think of like a middle-aged man or woman, but he was actually, when I was in high school, he was probably 22, 23, fresh out of college. So we ended up staying in touch throughout college. Like we ended up becoming really good friends. And so I remember reaching out to him because I would always see him during class. He would be on his computer, he would be reading scans of One Piece. And so after class, we would always sit and talk about like anime and manga. He would like, keep me updated on One Piece and stuff. And so I remember reaching out to him, was like, hey man, like I want to write like my own little comic book manga story. Could you help? So we started. And so we ended up making a book called Prime of Seven. And we actually, we love the process. And so we was like, man, why don't we just start, a company that could tell the kind of stories that we like, inspired by Japanese art style and storytelling, but mixed with a graphic novel, more Western style stories that you see in the West. And so that's really what Noir Caesar is. It's just a love letter and a mashup to what we grew up loving from Japanese culture, which is anime and manga, mixed with a lot of storytelling that you see in the Western world.
Okay, that's cool. So are you a big One Piece fan?
I'm not.
Not. Oh no. Okay. What other manga are you into? Just curious. I know I don't want to derail the conversation, but now I'm curious.
You good. Recently finished the Fire Force manga, so that was pretty cool. Gachakuda, which was dope.
I think I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah. A little bit of Naruto. I said Yu Yu Hakusho. What else? Man, I've read a ton. Berserk, which is a really good one.
Oh yeah, Berserk.
Really dark, crazy. I recently read one called Black Torch that I really liked.
Okay.
Hell's Paradise. Yeah, I mean, I've read a lot of them. So
I wonder if it's available, like depending on your phone store, like Google or
yeah,
Apple. But like Shonen Jump app, I've found is like really cool for like if you have, for
yeah.
example, I'm reading One Piece. I'm like 900 chapters in over
Wow,
like 5 years. Like
wow,
I just
wow.
read a little bit here and there. It's cool to like kind of if you have a story that you've been meaning to, it's like $3 a month, and you get unlimited access to like all these full
Yeah,
ass
for
stories.
sure. One Piece is like a lifetime commitment, man. So
It is. I've been reading like that, Don to Don, My Hero Academia.
I like Dun Dun Dun.
Don to Don's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when you were in Japan, though, I'm curious. Like you mentioned that your company kind of opened some doors for you to meet other creatives and other people in that industry. So what were some of those experiences that you had or interactions that you had? Who were you able to meet, and like what kind of like connections did you make?
So actually, one cool story. Before I played in Japan, I would be on Twitter and I would come across this manga called Deep 3. It was a basketball manga in Japan. And the art style was really cool because you could tell that the artists and the creators really watched basketball. Like the details in the story, the details in the characters. And this actually characters follows like a mixed kid, which you really didn't see in a lot of Japanese manga. It follows like a, half black, half Japanese kid.
Yeah.
And I remember like, everyone on Twitter was like, man, this art and this story is so cool. You have to see it. But it was no English version available. It was only Japanese and French. And so people would make like fan-made English translated versions. So I would kind of read that, but English was kind of bad. And it was a pretty good amount of like underground following for this manga. And I remember reaching out to the team and I was like, hey man, because the artist was on Instagram. I remember reaching out to the artist and was like, hey, I'm a big fan. I play in the B.League. Is your story published in English? And if not, my company would love to publish it. As you know, in Japan, you need to you need to first meet with the company and make sure that they like you and make sure that everything is, sound. So we met. Well, I met with him and his the artist and his writer, and we kind of hit it off in Tokyo. And we just released volume 1 of their manga, which is doing really well. It's in bookstores, so if you go to Barnes and Nobles, your local Barnes and Nobles, your local comic
Oh,
book shop,
cool.
you probably can find Deep 3 in America. But so I was really proud of that because two things I was passionate about coming together, really. So
Nice. That's awesome, man. Congratulations on that.
thank you.
That's cool. So are you still like trying to keep in touch with not just them, but like are they able to help you kind of connect with other maybe manga artists kind of in the same company, or are they in separate, like for Deep 3, are they, how there's like Shonen Jump, Jump Weekly and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Is he in one of those like kind of
Yeah,
companies?
he's in Shakugan, I think.
Okay. Cool. Well, maybe that'll lead to some other stuff for you guys too.
Yeah,
Man, that'd be
man. Yeah,
awesome.
that was one of my coolest experiences because the artist, being and living in Japan, he had no idea that like his manga was very popular outside of Japan. He just, so it was pretty cool to see. But yeah, man, it's been a blessing working with that team on that project. So
Awesome. Well, again, congratulations on that. That's
thank you,
incredible.
thank
So, playing basketball professionally, internationally,
you.
helping run your company as a creative director,
Mm,
working on your own projects like EXO, Genesis, and Primus
mm,
7, that's a lot. Like, how do you
yeah,
find the time in the day to do all of that? Because I'm sure basketball and the training for that goes into that. It
mm,
probably takes a little bit of time every day.
for sure. I think for the most part, man, on my downtime, I'm sending emails, I'm working, I'm creating something, I'm, writing. We also have time where we ride the bus or we're on the plane for a couple hours. And, you're writing, jotting down ideas. But I have a really good team around me. My co-founders, they work really hard. So yeah, I would say, just trying to get what I can get done in my downtime and also just working with my team, I think is the key.
So, which one is more challenging, the company or basketball for you?
The company. The
Yeah, I was
company.
about to say, you probably basketball is like
For
you could wake up and
sure.
do it, or you could do it in your sleep. Probably you've
For
been doing it
sure.
for so long that that's second nature. But running a company every day is something new. You never know what you're gonna get.
I would say definitely early on because we had a lot of woes because we didn't really understand publishing and the business
Yeah,
of publishing. And I think when you're in rooms with people who've done publishing for a living and understand it, and it's even more advanced when you're talking to Japanese publishers because they are very, very detailed, very, very strict, and very, they don't just give out IP to anybody and
right.
license and all of this. So it's just really had to become a student, really had to humble myself, become a student, really learn the ins and outs of publishing, how to make money in publishing, what makes money, what doesn't make money, marketing. Like it was just really, really wake up experience for sure.
So, who did you meet early on that kind of helped act as in that mentor role for this, or was this all just like kind of research on the internet, self taught?
Met a couple people. So for me, he's become one of my mentors, one of my good friends. It's a guy named Vince Shortino. He's actually similar to you. He married a Japanese lady, and he actually was one of the founders and pioneers of Crunchyroll.
Oh, what?
Yeah,
Okay.
so and he ended up selling his. I think Crunchyroll has sold a few times now, but he ended up cashing out really big. If you don't mind me saying this, Vince, he ended up cashing out really big in the sale of Crunchyroll. But I met him at a convention and he liked what I was doing and he just took me under his wing, man, and just been so supportive with anything I need, any contact, any information. Introducing me to people he's come across. He speaks fluent Japanese. He's a guy from San Francisco. Just really, 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 really good guy that just has helped me so much on my journey. And it's funny because he doesn't even watch anime. He doesn't read manga, but now he runs a company called Octus, which licenses like these really
Yeah.
cool niche brands from Japan. And then
Okay.
they kind of do deals with companies in America like Hot Topic and, Spencer's and Journeys and, all these companies that want to sell like Hello Kitty and brands like that. But yeah, he's been a great mentor for me. And then secondly has been a guy named Stu Levy. Stu, he runs and he founded a company called Tokyo Pop. And Tokyo Pop is who we did a partnership distribution deal with for Noir Caesar books. But Stu, I was introduced to Stu through Vince, and Stu has been another great mentor, man, taking a chance on me and my company. And I have a ton of respect for Stu and what he's done.
Awesome. Well, again, congratulations on all the incredible work you've done with your company and balancing that with professional basketball. I mean, that's
Definitely.
I can't imagine
Yeah,
just running one of these companies alone is probably hard enough, but doing that while you're playing ball, traveling
sure,
around and everything, it's got to be rough.
for sure. Sure.
So back to your time when you were in Japan, did you find like maybe any one thing that might have something that while you were in Japan kind of changed, like maybe mindset wise or like your approach to the game or how you just maybe approached other things in life?
That's a great question. I think living and playing in Japan, I was able to kind of breathe and slow down a lot because before, like I said, coming from Europe, basketball is so intense. You're getting so much pressure from your coaches, from your fans, from the team to win and win and win and win and win and win. And they're threatening, if you don't win, they're threatening to change you. They're threatening to take money from you. They're threatening to like it's
Stress.
forever like pressure and stress. And so coming to Japan where that was like non-existent and being able to really breathe and enjoy life, man, it showed me that like basketball is a game. Basketball has been great to me and my family for sure. But it just showed me that it doesn't have to be so harsh, It could be fun. And I think that's why guys like playing in Japan because it's really fun. It's still competitive where you're playing against guys like you said, Jaleel Okafor, Stanley Johnson, but you're not faced with that crazy stress and weight of like, if I don't win today, I don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, it's
Yeah.
like it's that kind of thing. But I think that for me, I was able to slow down, breathe, and just really enjoy life, I think, while playing basketball for like the first time. And I think from there I just kind of never went back. So
Yeah. Well, that's great, man. I have one more question. If it's okay.
yeah, sure.
The players that are in B.League right now, do you see anyone that's maybe is going to take the leap and maybe possibly go and play in the NBA or maybe someone up and coming that you are aware of in the Japanese league or college ball?
I would tell you the guy that surprised me, and actually he's playing in the NBA is Kuwamara, Yuki.
Okay.
He playing for the Bulls now.
He's playing for the Bulls now? Okay.
Yeah. And so Yuki, I got to play against him when I was in the B League. And I remember before the game, I remember my American teammates telling me, because my American teammates, they had played in Japan. Like I said, they were playing in Japan back when like it was considered a company league. So like they seen the rise of it. Like they're really, really vets. And they was telling me like, man, it's this really young kid. Bro, he's really, really, really good. Like extremely good, like American good. and and I was like, man, really? Like I gotta see it. I remember playing, man, and it was crazy. It was crazy. He was as advertised. He was really good. So to see him get a chance at the NBA, it was crazy because he's small, man. He's a small guard, like a really small guard, but he's really good. He can score, he can pass. I think Japan played in the Olympics. He had a good game, really good game against France. But I think to that point, I don't know if I can give you a certain name, but I do know that the Japanese league and players are getting so much better at a fast rate that you're probably going to see a lot more NBA players coming from Japan. You're probably going to see a lot more stars coming from Japan. Yeah, it's becoming such a really well organized sport, and it's growing fast.
Awesome. Our listeners got to keep an eye out for it in the future. I know we had a couple like,
Sure.
Rui Hachimura, I think, broke barriers in terms
For
of him
sure.
coming over. Yuta Watanabe was also,
Yuta, yeah.
he was in, where was I think it was the Grizzlies for a while. And then he kind of went to the Raptors, I think, after. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, he was another one that was kind of like making waves. So
No, definitely,
I'm looking forward to the future, see what's coming.
definitely.
All right. So, man, your story is a testament to just what can happen when you chase your dreams, just in
For
general.
sure.
And that's dreams with a plural, with an S, because, you've done it in basketball, but
Yeah.
you've also done it outside of basketball with your business.
Yep.
So, what advice do you have to like listeners out there who may be aspiring basketball players or creatives or just someone looking for like finding their calling? Like, what advice do you have for those people?
I would say number one, you just got to do it. You got to do it. And when you do it, please know that you're going to fall on your face, the first time or the second time or the third time. But those who keep going are the winners, Essentially, it's a marathon, and you have to be in it for a marathon. You can't be in it expecting quick success or quick fame or fortune. You just have to love it. And I think for me, both things you named, basketball and, the publishing company, those are both things I love. And those are both things I would probably do for free, because I love it. And I think that with both of those things, I've experienced immense amounts of failure, and I've experienced really, really big wins. So I think that you just have to get out your house and go do it. And, you learn as you go and you keep going. And that's really what I would tell anyone who's looking to, chase their dreams or start something or.
That's great advice. I mean, I can't think of anything better to say, just because it really is, you got to take that first step, right?
Mm.
It's all about taking the first step and then be willing to get back up when you do fall, because it's going to happen. It happens in everything.
1,000%. 1,000% for sure.
All right. Well, before we wrap up, I wanted to give you an opportunity again, just to let people know maybe where they can find you, or if they want to follow you, if your team in Korea has an Instagram page that you want them to follow or anything like that. Sure. Or, let them know about where they can find more information about Noir Caesar and, other works that you have coming up.
Definitely. For me, you can follow me on Instagram at JOBryan3 and Noir Caesar at Noir Caesar. That's my company. We have a lot of cool stuff coming out we just released a wrestling graphic novel called The Fourth Rope, which is really, really cool, inspired by, I grew up a big wrestling fan, so WWF, Attitude Era, with a little mix of anime in there. And then obviously Deep 3. I talked a little bit about that those books are coming out, so you can check that out. And then as far as basketball, I'm currently in South Korea. My team is the Red Boosters on Instagram, so check that out. And that's how you can find me.
I know I'm wrapping up the podcast and then I'm ending with another question, but
no worries.
Did you ever go to any wrestling shows in Japan?
I haven't. So those are the two things that I wanted to do. I actually wanted to see the Japanese Wrestling League, and then I wanted to see a sumo match, sumo wrestling.
All right.
Sumo. And so I never got the chance to do it just because of scheduling. But I think kind of when I was there, I had missed the sumo season, and then I should have locked in and went to a wrestling match in Japan. But maybe one day for sure.
Well, fortunately, Korea is only a quick flight to Japan. There you go. So you can just take a weekend trip, after the season, hop over.
Did you get to see one when you were there?
I've done some pro wrestling stuff. I've never actually been to sumo in person to watch. I've participated in a sumo tournament in a mountain shrine out in Fukushima once. Got my ass handed to me. That was fun, but it definitely, I thought I would be all right, yeah, I'm a big dude, I'll be all right. I got picked up and thrown like crazy. But yeah, no, I've been to pro wrestling now. It's so much fun. It's very different from if you've been to a WWE show or WWF show or whatever, raucous over here and everything, but over there it's very people sit down clapping and not insane like it is here.
Is it a lot of character? Is it a lot of exaggeration in the characters? Is it or is it more just real wrestling performance more?
I would say both. They do a lot of storytelling in the ring, but then they also have some everyone has their own character, and they do live it publicly. Cool. So yeah, it's fun. So if you get a chance to go, we actually interviewed a guy who's doing indie wrestling. He's not in New Japan, but he's in he does some stuff with DDT and another one called Gato Move.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's an Indian guy. He's kind of an up-and-coming guy. He's been on AEW actually a few times, but he says there's something happening every night in Tokyo. You just got to find it. But there's websites where you can say pro wrestling in Japan and find a whole all these events at all these little different venues and stuff. So if you go, you'll definitely find something. Just got to know it. I'll send you the link to the website.
For sure, please do. I'm gonna check it out for sure.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. I love talking basketball and manga, and I guess pro wrestling too. But
sure, definitely.
Thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to Krewe Japan Podcast. A huge thank you to Johnny O'Brien III for joining us and sharing his incredible journey from competing at the highest levels of professional basketball in and out of Japan to building a manga publishing company that's creating opportunities for new voices in the industry. It was such a fascinating conversation that blended sports, pop culture, entrepreneurship, creativity, and life in Japan in a way that we really haven't explored before. If you'd like to keep up with Johnny's basketball career or check out some of the amazing work that they're doing at Noir Caesar, we've got it all linked out in the show notes. Socials, publishing company link, you name it, it's there. Check it out. Are you new to the Krewe in Season 7? Stick around and don't be a stranger. Give us a follow and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. There's plenty in our back catalog to take you on endless audio journeys through Japanese culture. While you're there, do us a solid and leave us a 5-star rating and/or review. Why not both? Every single one of those ratings and reviews helps other listeners discover Krewe of Japan and join our global crew. Or hey, maybe just let a friend know about us. Any and all support is incredibly appreciated. Have you been to a pro basketball game in Japan? Share with us on Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter X. Just search Krewe of Japan Podcast to stay in the loop with future episodes, upcoming Japan Society events, and other Japan-related content. That's KREWEOFJAPAN, Krewe of Japan. Or if you want to reach out to us directly, shoot us an email, kreweofjapanpodcast@gmail.com. We always love hearing from our listeners. But that's it for today. Until next time. Looking to start your own podcast and don't know what platform to use? Tell me about it. When we started the Krewe of Japan podcast, we tried a bunch of the big name recording platforms, but always came back to the one we're still currently using to this day, Zencastr. Zencastr is now the all-in-one solution making podcasting easy. In addition to its high audio and video quality for podcast production, Zencastr provides a full suite of production tools to record, produce, and publish studio quality content from the comfort of your home. Just log in through your browser and start recording. It's that simple. For us, we simply send out links to our guests and they join the lobby. But before you know it, it's all done and you have your studio quality audio and up to 4K video right there ready for you right when you finish. The best part is having their multi-layered backups to ensure that your recordings are in the highest quality, regardless of anyone's internet connection stability. With Zencastr's all-in-one podcasting platform, you can create your podcasts in one place and distribute to all the major destinations. It's really that easy. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code Krewe of Japan, KREWEOFJAPAN, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same easy experiences we do for all of our podcasting and content needs. It's your time to share your story.